U.S. official cars were seen departing Greenland's capital of Nuuk on Thursday after U.S. Vice President JD Vance and his wife suddenly changed their itinerary for a planned visit to the island, reducing their chances of crossing paths with residents angered by the Trump administration's attempts to annex the territory. According to Assosicted Press, the couple will now visit the U.S. Space Force outpost at Pituffik, on the northwest coast of Greenland, instead of Usha Vance's previously announced solo trip to the Avannaata Qimussersu dogsled race in Sisimiut. Danish officials spoke out against Vance's unofficial visit. Lars Løkke Rasmussen, Denmark's Minister for Foreign Affairs, said that the change in itinerary was clearly a de-escalation, adding that the U.S. had some idea that they could buy Greenland as well, only to realize that Greenlanders could not be charmed into making themselves available to the U.S. Danish Deputy Prime Minister Troels Lund Poulsen criticized U.S. President Donald Trump's statements about taking over Greenland, saying such violent statements are a hidden threat to the Commonwealth. Trump irked much of Europe by suggesting that the United States should in some form control the self-governing, mineral-rich territory of Denmark, a U.S. ally and NATO member. As the nautical gateway to the Arctic and North Atlantic approaches to North America, Greenland has broader strategic value as both China and Russia seek access to its waterways and natural resources. Trump, in an interview Wednesday on The Vance Show, repeated his desire for U.S. control of Greenland. Asked if the people there are eager to become U.S. citizens, Trump said he didn't know, but I think we have to do it, and we have to convince them. The vice president's decision to visit a U.S. military base in Greenland has removed the risk of violating potential diplomatic taboos by sending a delegation to another country without an official invitation.
Det er helt klart en de-escalering, altså fordi, hvis man skal sige det sådan lidt hurtigt, ikke, så har amerikanerne vel haft en eller anden idé om de ikke lige kunne købe Grønland også, og det kunne de så ikke. Og så har der vel været en eller anden idé om, at så kan man så charme grønlænderne til selv og stille sig til rådighed for USA. Og det er vel sådan, man har skulle tænke det her besøg fra anden damen og nogle højt profilerede, højtstående amerikanske politikere til det grønlandske samfund. Og det er jo det besøg, der er aflyst. Altså, og i stedet så besøger man sin egen militærbase i Grønland, og det er man jo altid velkommen til.
Jeg synes, det er nogle meget voldsomme udtalelser, og jeg synes, det er udtalelser, der ikke klæder en amerikansk præsident at komme med i forhold til en tæt og nær allieret, som Danmark er og har været i forhold til USA. Jeg synes, det er en skjult trussel, som bliver rejst mod rigsfællesskabet, og det har jeg også brug for at sige klart fra overfor.
Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney said Wednesday that U.S. President Donald Trump's auto tariffs are a direct attack on his country and that the trade war is hurting Americans, noting that American consumer confidence is at a multi-year low. According to Associated Press, Trump said earlier Wednesday that he was placing 25% tariffs on auto imports and, to underscore his intention, he stated, "This is permanent." "This is a very direct attack," Carney responded. "We will defend our workers. We will defend our companies. We will defend our country." Carney said he needs to see the details of Trump's executive order before taking retaliatory measures. Carney earlier announced a $2 billion Canadian strategic response fund that will protect Canadian auto jobs affected by Trump's tariffs. Autos are Canada's second largest export, and Carney noted it employs 125,000 Canadians directly and almost another 500,000 in related industries. Trump previously granted a one-month exemption on his stiff new tariffs on imports from Mexico and Canada for U.S. automakers. The president has plunged the U.S. into a global trade war, all while on-again, off-again new levies continue to escalate uncertainty. The new Prime Minister, sworn in March 14th, still hasn't had a phone call with Trump. It is unusual for a US President and Canadian Prime Minister to go so long without talking after a new leader takes office. It would be appropriate that the President and I speak given the action that he has taken. I'm sure that will happen soon, Carney said.
Lana and I were just having a meeting, a pre-scheduled meeting, to discuss the situation in our economy, how we can work together across a range of industries, forestry, aerospace, automobiles, and beyond. During the course of that meeting, President Trump announced 25% tariffs against our auto industry. And this is a direct attack, to be clear, a direct attack on the very workers that I stood in front of, uniform workers I stood in front of this morning at the Ambassador Bridge. A bridge that is a symbol and a reality up until now of the tight ties between our two countries, ties of kinship, ties of commerce, ties that are in the process of being broken. You know, this will hurt us, but through this period, by being together, we will emerge stronger. I think what's happened, and this was part of our discussion, over the course of the last several months, Canadian workers, Canadians as a whole across this country, have gotten over the shock of the betrayal and are learning the lessons. We have to look out for ourselves, and we have to look out for each other and work together for each other. We're also providing the option of major liquidity for our companies. We put in place an ability for companies to delay tax payments. We've put in place a large facility for our largest companies, some of them which may be affected by this, would be affected by this, to draw on liquidity in various forms so that they can take longer-term decisions without undue pressure from short-term unjustified action. It's also why we focused, in part in anticipation of what might happen, on today's announcement that I made in front of that Ambassador Bridge for the $2 billion Strategic Response Fund. And the point of that fund, the point of government procurement, the point of linking up through supply chains, the point of working with labor led by Unifor, is to build a made-in-Canada supply chain, a made-in-Canada option, so that we are less affected by these. Now that will take time, but we are already putting in place the building blocks for that. It would be appropriate that the President and I speak, given the action that he's taken. I'm sure that will happen soon. I'm not going to give you a precise timing on that. In terms of options, which was the second part of Ms. Martin's question, even during a caretaker period of government, we have anticipated this possibility. We have put in place the mechanisms so that if it is appropriate for retaliatory tariffs, and there's many considerations to be taken in those regards, and I want to have the meeting of our cabinet, Canada-US cabinet, other considerations. We need to see the details of the executive order, but we will take the steps that are in the interests of Canadian workers of Canada. We are going to stand up for Canada.